Maybe we can start with this first part, if Goranka and Irena agreed.
Yeah. Yes.
And then everybody who will join us is welcome, and I hope they will come to this main part, not just to this introduction. So in our museum, you see the picture from Knights Hall. We are administrating this meeting from Slovenia. Hello to all. But first, as it was announced, we go with the 3 chairs, and the first one is Goran Kahorian, INTERCOM, and please give us some welcoming words.
Yes, thank you, Alemka. I'm always embarrassed with my dark images behind me because you have such a representation a room, and it's really somehow reminding us how museums are actually excellent places to work in and to be in. And we just had a huge conference on museum storages on 18th and 19th of May in Croatia. And really, it was well attended because this is a hot topic for us. Many museums were suffered heavy damages during the earthquakes, have to move their collections, have to transfer them to some improvisational storages, and at the same time are building new ones. So the International Museum Day topic, how we can reimagine and recover the museums for future, really can take on many aspects. And for us in INTERCOM, it is the management and leadership issues that are those top things we would like to stress and focus on in our next work. And I will also try with my partners to present 2 projects together with ICOMC. So we also stress this necessity for collaboration, participation, and exchange between committees, between museum professionals. And I would like to thank Alenka for this initiative to have this meeting today, marking the International Museum Day. And good day to everybody.
Thank you, Goranka. As I would like to welcome you all in this hall and be the real host. And now I'm just imagined host in a way. So I would like to first give this platform, this virtual floor to Irena Žmuc. We are from the same country, but not from the same museum and not from the same town. But I'm really glad that all 3 of us that are quite near in this circle of 100 kilometers, I can say, cooperate very well. And this is also one of the products of our cooperation. And thank you also, Irena, for your, how to say, not just always great support and giving a lot of advices to me, as you are the chair of International Committee for Regional Museums, the 2nd term, the 2nd mandate. And you always help us also with the things that we have to do. And Irena is working in City Museum of Ljubljana. And she was involved in many international projects and also many international committees since 1991. So she's very experienced, and thank you for everything, Irena. And so first, this introduction floor is yours, and then I will do the further one.
Okay, thank you, Alenka, for giving me the word, the stage. So, dear ICR members, dear INTERCOM and ICOM Southeast Europe members, hello. Do we still remember how the museums looked like a year ago? Well, It's really strange year, and over the last year, interactions between museums and the public and between museums among themselves have changed dramatically. Of course, in the response to the ongoing pandemic. But culture and cultural heritage in particular was mostly affected activities during the pandemic. On the other hand, museums play an important role in ensuring inclusive and cohesive societies. Culture strengthens local identities and creates a sense of belonging. And there is also a strong evidence on the links between cultural participation and people's mental well-being and health. And please remember our discussion in Kyoto when we heard about the prescriptions, the doctor's prescriptions to the patients to go to the museum, especially to the Morikami museums and Japanese garden. Because building cultural capabilities and promoting cultural participation is therefore a precondition for more cohesive and inclusive societies. Later on, my colleague Noga will present last information on how regional museums are doing in this this over 1 year pandemic times. And I think we have so many questions to be answered. In general, I would like to say that, of course, techniques is a great help, but also if we see the number of participants today, there are 14 participants. I think people, are they fed up with Zoom meetings? I don't know. Only 14 people are present at this Zoom meeting, which is, I think, very interesting. And remember, there's 2 international committees and 1 regional alliances. So thank you, Alenka, for being a host, and I give you back the word.
Okay, thank you. Now we have the 15th, Slavko Spasic, our vice chair of ICOM-C, joined us.
Oh, great.
Hello, Slavko. In Serbia, they had a very open celebration of International Museum Day, quite different than in our country. Hello, Slavko.
Hello.
Hello. And so we hope to follow you very soon. We already had a small chat at the beginning, okay. And now I prepared just a small PowerPoint. I just have to find it. Where are you? Where is it? Hopefully, when you have too much open, that's not good. Yes. Sorry.
In the meantime, Irena, I hope that the low number of participants in this Zoom is not because people are tired, but because people are back at work.
But we are back in the museum. We opened the museum now. We are open.
Okay. Great. Now I hope you see my power. It was just short to remind us that we also 2 days after the actual date we still celebrate International Museum Day. It was the same last year when we also had this type of celebration webinar on the same day. It was Wednesday, now it's Thursday, of course. And in Slovenia, we celebrate also the, not in Slovenia, it's now since 2017, also proclaimed worldwide, this day is a World Bee Day. And in this world that we deal with so many turbulences, so many troubles, so many things that bother us, bees are also very important. Bees are also very endangered. And our future regarding if we will have food for this world is also connected with saving the bees. So that's why I wanted, as I am from Slovenia, I'm not from Gorenjska region, where this man actually was born, and when we have apiculture museum in Radolica, but actually the whole Slovenia, the whole world takes care about this heritage also. And in our museum, of course, I want to have this opportunity also to show you this very important object, this very important part of our museum. This is actually a beehive in the shape of Napoleon Bonaparte's soldier. As Slovenia in this part that his army, when he was defeated in Russia, was returning from Russia to France, also through Slovenia. And we have so many stories from that period of time. And we also have some objects like this soldier. Actually, this is a beehive. And this is one, only 4 exists in Slovenia, and we are proud to have one of those. And last year, we also presented the story of a woman keeper. This is quite not very ordinary. Usually the man takes care of the bees. We only have few women, and this was one of them from our region, and she would be 100 years old last year, and today we are actually closing this small exhibition. So this is also, every day has a special meaning, of course, because we have so many international days for so many different topics, some very important things. But I wanted to have this opportunity today to emphasize bees, to emphasize these hardworking bees that are very connected with the museum workers, because in these times we are like these bees. We have to do our best. We are very hardworking, and we are glad that we can meet in this way, but we are really looking forward to meet like this, to meet in this castle, to see our museums. This is just one of many in the whole world, but this is the museum that actually I'm working here. Approximately is my office that I'm saying hello now. So I would be really, really glad that the next meeting, the next International Museum Day, would be celebrated in person in maybe here. I'm inviting you all the time. So regarding our ICOM-C countries, we are struggling with many different problems, but I hope that we are still optimistic. We are still optimistic. And I think that this type of projects that we are working with several committees, especially in these 2 with INTERCOM, and especially with also ICR, because many of members of Regional Alliance board members were also very active actually in this board, like Goranka. She was the chair for 1 mandate. Yes, Goranka? Yes. Yeah, and also I am the member of this ICR committee too, so, and many others. So I think that we are very connected, and I'm glad and I'm really honored that we have this meeting together, that we have this webinar together, and looking forward to other programs too. We plan to have a conference in Romania, joint conference ICR and ICOM-C. But okay, we have to postpone it again, and hopefully that won't last many years. We hope that we'll meet very soon in person. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this. And now we start with the second part, with the presentation. So, okay. You're still seeing my presentation? No.
No, we are seeing you.
Okay, okay, thank you. So thank you for listening to me. Now my job is to introduce the first speaker. This is Goranka Horjan. She has been INTERCOM chair since 2019. She's CEO of the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb, with so many and very successful experience in EU projects, focusing on renovation, refurbishment of museums. She has been an active ICOM member since 1997. a member of the Executive Council from 2010 to 2016, chair of Regional Alliance ICOM-C from 2016 to 2019, and also last year she was appointed the chair of LEAC, that is Legal Affairs Standing Committee in our ICOM community. She has been active in Europa Nostra, Best in Heritage, as the member of the advisory board, and 2016-2019 she was also the chair of Europa Nostra Heritage Award jury in category of education, training and awareness raising. And so many things. And now here she is now as the chair of INTERCOM, also the chair of these projects, the most important and active person in projects. So please, Goranka, this virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. Have I been unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Sorry, I just somehow lost my mic. Thank you very much. And I would like to brief you today on the projects that INTERCOM is running. And since really we have been stressing collaboration as the main issue, I would also like to thank our two partners who are present here in those projects. This is ICOM-C and Alenka and Bart from CIMAM. ICOM Special Projects and ICOM Solidarity Projects are supported by ICOM, and we won the funding in this year's grant system. So we are really grateful that ICOM recognized the quality of our applications. We have applied successfully with two different projects. But somehow both of them have the ability and the potential later to give us a broader perspective on leadership management and governance issues, which is the topic that INTERCOM is mainly interested in. First is INTERCOM Global Museum Leadership Study and Knowledge Platform, which is supported by Solidarity Fund. We have got a lot of partners here, they are listed there. And another is a Museum Watch Governance Management Program, which is run on the initiative by CIMAM and actually inspired by their Museum Watch activity. And this one will be presented later by my colleague Bart. Now, why the project on leadership? Somehow we thought that the crisis really brought a lot of turbulence into museum world, and somehow museums need to rethink the concepts, how the institutions are run, governed, managed. That is why we really started this project. In fact, first we did a small pilot survey last year in order to prepare the project, to check if the topic is, how to say, if the colleagues think this is the topic to pursue in the next few years. And somehow we saw that a kind of global perspective is missing. We saw that a lot of studies have been done mainly in Western countries, in US and European countries, Australia. But we are somehow lacking the insight into the situations in the other parts of the world. Therefore, we wanted to go for a global scale to see what are the cultural specifics, political specifics, and somehow to establish a kind of guidelines for future development practice on leadership. And of course, in order to set the ship in the right direction, we need to do a good mapping what's going on in all continents. Therefore, we actually made the project phases. The first one is, of course, the research, then data analysis. And after the report, we wanted to make the results public and known, and then further develop the future steps for setting the good practice. In these pilot results, we were also somehow curious to check with selected museum directors from all over the world what they think is crucial in helping them to achieve their leadership role. So the questions were mainly asked, we mainly asked the directors. So of course, still these academic qualifications and specialization is high as the result. But then we also saw another interesting aspect, and that is the membership of professional associations. This somehow gave us the hope and a push that INTERCOM may also be a significant stakeholder in helping people to build their professional careers. Another question was related to the skills. So what those directors think that museum leader, what skills are needed for this? And also 3 segments popped up, really high scores we got here. This is the ability to change, the stakeholder management, and somehow to be inspirational for the others. And that is how we have built the survey to follow, and that has been sent to our ICOM and museum community in several waves. I think we already had 3 waves of the survey, and so far reaching the number of 1,000 answers from more than 100 countries worldwide. So we really think that this survey will give us a solid insight into what's going on globally. What for me is also interesting that and it will be also, it also inspired us for the next project. So the leading position is often a challenged position. It is challenging for the person who is leading, of course, or who is running a museum, but it is also, how to say, a most wanted position. Maybe there is always somehow the great fuss who is going to be the director of the museum. Usually, especially in our part of the world, I have never seen an article that the head of collection has been replaced or changed. But if the museum director is changed, then there is always a heated public debate on this topic, which encouraged us to join the initiative proposed by Simon. Of course, we also saw that somehow we have to make a clear distinction between leadership and management, you know, and how leadership has really more positive connotations in the present world, in the present state of affairs, so that the people follow leaders, that the leaders should have the vision, and the management is somehow seen as something that secures that the museum keeps their daily activities running. Sometimes you even have this, how to say, rather idyllic cartoons like the one I found on Creative Commons, when the boss is somebody sitting up high, like in pharaonic position, and the leader is pushing hard or pulling hard with the others. What also is for me important as one of the questions we discussed with the colleagues running this leadership project, and when setting the questionnaire, was the question of responsibility. So who is really responsible for running the museum? So maybe this also has a huge impact on how the person behaves. What are his obligations? What are his legal requirements, or hers, of course? And then this may also influence significantly the attitude of people towards running the museum. And then I also tried to see on the web, this was for me interesting, how well people think that managers and leaders do their job. Do they do their job well? Somehow managers are not assessed well, but also I found some statistics that leaders don't get too much points, or a lot of percentage of employees think they do not communicate well the goals and plans. This communication and is always seen somehow as a problem. And for me, it is really a curious thing, because I'm also teaching management at one of the high schools for cultural sector, and I also got the feedback from people, the same feedback, that they feel that the communication is bad, that they are not asked enough to to participate in the decision making, in the process of doing things, setting the work, etc. And probably it seems to me that how if the people are further away from the decision making position, they feel more excluded, or they would stress the communication problem as a significant one. Of course, we also in the survey wanted somehow to see how museums are really managed, or are they more administrated? What is the freedom, let's say, of the museum directors to make significant decisions for their museums? And then, you know, is it really good to see some business models introduced in museums as cultural institutions? There is somehow a resistance, a really strong resistance among cultural workers, among curators, that they are advocating some kind of a special position for themselves, not related only in the freedom they should have in their work, research, etc., but also somehow not to be asked to measure the impact of their work, the results, etc. So this is somehow a unique position, which we also think might be threatened by the recent changes and pandemics on our door for most than a year. INTERCOM has been supporting Stephen Wales' lectures for a long time, and so I couldn't resist not to quote that to use his description from a book, that a typical manager really performs a variety of different tasks which somehow need really a very flexible and adapted mind. And what he also says is that the classic management in museums somehow is can be best described with this kaleidoscopic arrangement of seemingly unrelated events that all need urgent action. This sense of urgency when something is going on, especially during the exhibition openings, events, is really something that is specific for museums. Another issue that is on the agenda today is this collaborative leadership. So far I have been following some of the debates on this topic and how people see the possibility that you share the responsibility and share the leading position in a museum with somebody else. So how those people can collaborate. Most of good practice cases are coming from the not from the museums, but from NGOs, I must say, and similar institutions. And of course, museums are often criticized that they follow this outdated model of leadership and how to, it will be probably our task in the future to explore how to look for other models of this co-leadership, shared leadership. Is it possible, and how institutions will be restructured based on this? So somehow this needs some brave steps to take, not only on behalf of museum directors, but also on the part of the founder of the museums. They are also sometimes skeptical to rearrange, restructure, introduce new innovative models, because they can threaten the existing practices. They can increase expenses. For example, if you have two directors, are you going to give them half the wage of the present one, or are you going to provide two wages, two higher wages for both of them? This is, for example, one practical question that immediately will be asked if you propose this. And in this research, we will try to do good analysis to see how visions of leaders are formed and how can we compare the results that we will get. I also like this somehow this goldfish syndrome, which is somehow opposed state of affairs to active leadership, and in this repetitive and disinterested environment, sometimes people can fall into apathy, like during the crisis we currently meet. So really a positive and strong leaders would be a kind of refreshment, and perhaps can give encouragement to the others, to their co-workers, fellow curators, researchers, to see and look for the brighter future. In order to properly do the service which we plan in questionnaires in both of the projects, we need your participation, of course. And we have started sending the link for the next survey, which is going to be used by the researchers we have in our Museum Watch project. And I hope that you will join and be responsive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Goranka. Thank you. We'll have time to discuss and to give some question after all the free presentations, because everything is connected, and I think that we'll have some insight also with the second presentation. Noga Ravets, hello to you, to your turbulent country now, as we spoke about it at the beginning, but welcome in Slovenia in one way. If you want to come, we are open. Okay. So, okay, she works in the field of museums and culture for the last 20 years. Among others, she was the director and curator of the Negev Museum of Art and the artistic manager of the Harry Oppenheim Diamond Museum. She holds an MA degree in philosophy and art and diploma in museum studies, and her PhD thesis deals with the influence of public culture policy on local identity. Since September 2019, since we were in Kyoto, she is a board member and the treasurer of International Committee, ICR, Regional Museums. So you were in charge of collecting data of this huge survey. So please, the floor is yours, and I will be your administrator. So I will share your PowerPoint, and you please tell me when I have to go further with the presentation, okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Alenka. Let's start. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this meeting and for inviting me to present the findings of the survey conducted by ICR. Meetings of this kind are in line with our goals as international committees and in accordance with our members' request for exchange ideas, as you can see later on. The survey was distributed to ICR members between mid-April to mid-May. 24 members respond and send their answers to the survey. This is approximately 10% of our members, the one that we can be in contact with. And speaking of solidarity, I want to mention that we are waiting for ICOM Secretariat to solve the problem of transferring the details of all members to the international committees, so that we can be in touch and exchange information with everyone who has signed up for any committee. So let's move to the first slide, and I wish to thank all our members who took the time to answer this survey and to share their knowledge and ideas with us. You can see we have people respond from Catalonia, Costa Rica, Croatia, and they are leading 4 people from there: France, Germany, Iran, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kenya, Montenegro, Romania, Russia, Slovenia, Spain, Taiwan, Tanzania, Uganda, United States. So thanks a lot, friends. It is very important for us. You can see that most of the people who respond working in small to mid-sized museums. This is, I think, one of the characterized of our committee, usually people from small museums. Let's move to the next slide. Our members, the one who responds, are working, as you can see, in all fields of museums. It's archaeology, regional museum, anthropology, Maritime Museum, History, Memorial, Open Air Museum. So there's people from a lot of branches and a lot of fields. And again, this, I think variety is very, very important, because we can understand that there are things that are right for everybody, not just for a specific country or specific field of interest. Let's move. We ask people about then and now. So you can see that during last 3 years, more than half of the members were working from home. And I'm very happy to see that currently the situation is better. And we see that more than half, or it's almost 60%, are again working as usual. And as we say, Darina, maybe this is the answer why there are so few people in our Zoom meeting, because all the other people right now working in their offices. And so I think it's a good news. So things are getting better. Let's move. Next slide. We ask the people if them or other personnel in the museum fired following COVID-19 crisis. We can see that unfortunately it happens in several museums, but most of people keep their jobs. Next one, please. We ask, has the museum changed the working method of the staff in accordance with social distancing requirements? So some of the people just say yes, but some elaborate and say that they worked from home. It's a kind of social distancing. Others mention reducing number of people, or reducing the number of people in meetings or in the room, like moving to work just one person in an office. In some places, the museum had partitions in the workplace. So I believe this is the places where they didn't leave just one man in one office, but more. Some members said they were partially working from home, like 4 days a week working from home and 2 days a week working at the museum. Some members mentioned moving to online meetings instead of physical ones, and 3 out of these 24 answers says no, nothing has changed. And I think this is a pity, and we need to protect ourselves. Also to remember that our health is also important. Let's move to the next one, please. We ask again, this is from until last week, the answers is the museum is currently, again, happily, most of the museums are open to the public. About 12.5% of the answer says that the museum is closed and inactive, and 25% of the answer said close to the public but operate in some online platforms. So we're still doing our jobs, but in a different way. So again, it's I think we can see it as good news. I mean, if there's places that cannot be vaccinated for some reason or have other problems, still the museum are operating, find a way to work in online platforms and keeps their the work and the service we are giving to the public. We also has the museum adopted new work practice regarding social distancing? This is was meant mostly for the visitors. As I had the last questions regarding the staff, now it's regarding the visitors. So one museum says no, others said sometimes, or working from home or working in shifts. So it was a little bit confused about these questions. Someone said that they're reducing the number of visitors. Others mentioned they asking for preliminary booking of visitings. People cannot come without invitations. Other mentions shifting to virtual platforms, and A lot of them start to work according to governmental instructions, that is mask, temperature, checking, keeping distance of 2 meters, keeping clean and things like that. And some just answer yes, so I hope it's all of the above, almost all of the above. Another question was about, again, the situation of the workers, of our members, where salary and social condition affected as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. 12.5% of the repliers said that yes, but happily most of them said no. Again, I think this is a good news. And last but not least, about last year, we asked, have the museum's budget been reduced due to COVID-19 crisis? And sadly, you can see that in most places, the answer is yes. The budget was reduced, but again, I think that we can see and we will see that the museums find new ways of operating. So let's see now what is going on right now. Again, this meeting was about recovering, reimagining, and this part will be about how museums change their way of operating or way of thinking, or just find new platforms to give the services. So we ask, please tell us about special activities your museum made during this year or due to COVID-19. So almost all of the receivers answered that they enhanced digital platforms and activities. Things like virtual tours, online thematic events, educational activities for schools, shifting activities from indoors to outdoor spaces, reduce group size to maximum 15 people, more research and project than in outer years. So again, this is an idea. If you cannot work with visitor, then you doing more in-house working. This is a kind of opportunity to do all the things that you never had the time to do because you're always dealing with the visitors. Online exhibition and online educational program for school children and students, online quizzes, more interactive content on social media, open air workshops, outdoor scavenger hunt game, virtual programs. All the activities are in streaming by YouTube channels. This is again a new things that some museums, new ways of some museum adopted. Someone said collecting objects, again, dealing with inside issues. Someone else did special museums online show in December, the holiday time, connected with main museum exhibition, but more entertaining, and have special guests, local musicians. Someone else said we had a plan for Facebook and Instagram, like Wednesday, Day on Air, Friday, Hello from the Museum, Sunday, brand teasers, quizzes with prizes from the museum's shop. Again, some ideas that people can take from here. Again, creating YouTube channels, organizing online conference, remodeling the permanent exhibition. Again, something you usually cannot do when you are working as usual. And the virtual exhibition, online lectures, and an exhibition related to COVID-19 pandemic. You can see it later on. Again, there was a specific question about it. Has the museums adopted or enhanced new ways of communicating with the public? I tried to regroup all the answers, but as you can see, almost all the museums have increased the use of existing digital platforms, especially on social media, such as Facebook and Instagram. A few of them, I believe this is the bigger ones, also have been able to develop new platforms such as creating online or virtual exhibition or holding an online lectures or opening a YouTube channel. And sadly, one museum didn't make any changes. Again, this is something to think about. We also ask, do you have plans on how to bring visitors back to your museums? And again, I'm happy to say, as you can see, that most museums do have plans to bring back the visitors, and let's hear some of the ideas. Okay, new activities, some of them planned with educational and touristic agent, outdoor activities. A lot of promoting with the safe stay category in Croatia. I believe also other countries have things like that. In Israel, we call it green badge, that if you have all the safety regulation, then it's safe for people to come to the museum. I believe it's the same. Make the visitor feel safe, keeping everything clean, more outdoor activities, developing new programs and communication. Another museum said we are trying to work with the National University of Costa Rica to receive the space. To reactivate the space. A new exhibition, promotion of activities, updating exhibitions. Someone offers special price rate gifts, opening time modification, not just go back to the usual times, but see what is more convenient to people. To convince people against that the museum is a safe place, again, as we see in the safe stay in Croatia and other places. Developing new strategic activities, reinforcing, building new interesting program, and again, some word of wisdom, always keep you communicating with the public, not to lose the connection. So take whatever you want from these advices. We also were interested to see, has the museum made or planned to hold exhibition related to the COVID-19 pandemic? About 25% of the 20% of the answer were no, but more said yes, or yes, we already made an exhibition, or we are planning to have an exhibition, or just yes, that it would be one of these two options, I believe, or they did already, or they're planning to do. And one museum said they're just collecting materials for their collection, but they're not planning to hold an exhibition. But still, this is very important to collect the materials for future. What we also ask is, how do you think that ICR can help in this situation? But we can easily change it to how can my international committee help in this situation? I think that these answers are relevant to any international committee. And we can see that most of the people are asking for connection, for exchange ideas, for some solidarity, to be in contact with each other, to learn from each other's experience. I think it's relevant to, again, to any committee, and this is our place as the international committees to be in touch and help our members. And this Zoom meeting is, as I said, in accordance with this request to make group talks online, coordinate special projects that can provide extra fund to regional or local museum, case studies, advertising connection, share ideas and successful programs from other museums, some good advices, help museums creating connection between the community and cultural heritage, to promote at the international level the ideas that museums are safe spaces and that culture is an essential element in public services, etc., as also some of the things my colleagues mentioned and probably will mention at the end of this meeting. And the last question, we ask people to share their thoughts with us. So again, here's some ideas. Cultural heritage is not only for tourists, it's also for local people. A long period of economic recovery will be needed. It means that for a long time, there won't be money for public museums. We will feel the impacts of the crisis in budgets. We should find a way to help people to be happy again. I think this is a good idea. The value of museums won't drop as we are spaces of enjoyment and shared knowledge. Not easy to maintain the energy and desire of the personnel and to organize the projects. Again, we need always to remember that our members is also kind of audience that we need to refer to and help, not just the visitors to museums, also the workers of the museums, the people that need help and some encouragement. We need to see that European Commission arrives to all small museums that are developing a strong social and educational tasks. Joint venture like workshop to discuss solutions like we are doing now. We are building new programs to bring people back to the museum. Yes, this is very important, and we saw some example before. We mustn't lose focus. We can use the spare time to rethink our concept and develop new strategies. And again, we saw that some places remodeled the permanent exhibition and did some work on collection and so on. The current situation is quite difficult because of the pandemic, but we are doing our best. Yes, people, we are doing our best, and we are doing it in the good way. Everybody needs to feel as safe as possible. Yes, and with the keeping the regulation. And again, we become much closer during the pandemic due to the internet. Let's keep connected. So people, let's keep connected. Thank you all.
Thank you, Noga, for this presentation. As we saw, we are connected, but actually maybe too much connected with so many surveys that we get. So this is also quite a small number, but okay. It's volunteer, it's anonymous always, and but I think that it's very important that we know and we realize that this type of surveys are very important for our future, for this reimagine to recover. And I hope that the colleagues will be more like, you know, more, they will realize that 10 minutes is not so many time to be involved in this type of service. So thank you. The discussion will be after the third presentation, and we are welcoming Bart de Beres. Sorry, I hope that you're okay. How are you now? Because we know that
I'm surviving.
You're surviving, yeah.
I'll be happy when I'm in bed tonight, but I'm surviving.
Okay, we won't take you so much time, but we are glad that you are here with us. You are the director, yes, still, of the museum in Antwerp, the Contemporary Art Museum of the Flemish community in Belgium since 2002. So your position as a museum director means creating an institution with curating or co-curating exhibitions as a side effect, such as Super Democracy in 2017, the Belgian Senate, the 6th Moscow Biennale in 2015, and so many, many more. Prior to that, from 1986 to 2001, you were second in command in the Museum of Contemporary Art in Ghent. He was a president in the Flemish Council for Culture from 2003 to 2008, advisor to the Flemish Minister of Culture from 1999 to 2001, assisting to development of the field of cultural heritage, and then also the president of the Flemish Council for Museums and of the Assessment Board for Museums from 1997 to 1999. He is a member of the Board of Governance of CIMAM, the International Association of Contemporary Art Museums under the ICOM and UNESCO. He's co-founder of the European Museum Confederation, Le International, in 2012. He's a founding member and vice president of the association Centrum for Hidden, this is my language problem, Kunst, Art Association, Brussels 2002-2005, and he has been a member of the National Advisory Board of Soros Centers for Contemporary Art, New York, USA, 1996 to 1999, advisor of the Department of Culture of the city of Johannesburg for the launching of Biennale in Johannesburg, South Africa. So many references. So we are very glad that you're here with us and presenting another joint project, Museum Watch Governance Management Project. So please, I hope that it will be okay for you in this time also to be with us. And thank you for coming, and thank you for your presentation that is now starting.
Thank you. I prefer not to give a PowerPoint because I think it's quite horrible to see your own PowerPoint and then some little people on the side. So
Okay.
I would just want to give a survey of where we come from and how we met or made a link to INTERCOM and ICOM-C and ICOM Poland, because I think there's something interesting in that question. To start with, CIMAM is a bit a strange beast. You know, when I looked at the long list of museums that was given earlier on, and be aware, I am an archaeologist. I planned to become an archaeologist, but I deviated. And I developed cultural heritage. So I'm not only a contemporary art person, but contemporary art museums, I think, within the whole museum landscape have a special position. You know, they're a bit like strange animals in the zoo, that sometimes may have advantage because they may develop things, but they are in a certain way, I think, a place where you can see things that happen everywhere in all museums, but in a more intense way. Because they are dealing with living artists, they are dealing always with the latest topics that are appearing, where politics and society still have a problem, and where artists want to continue. So as a result, it's also a kind of a good observatorium, you can say, to see what's going wrong everywhere. You know, because of this intensity, and I say again, there's nothing that happens there and doesn't happen elsewhere, but it often happens more intensely there. It is sort of logical, I think, that CIMAM spinned itself off from ICOM and became a kind of separate organization. We have a staff of 3 people. Because of these special conditions, and one of the things we are doing is a group which we call a Museum Watch Committee, and it basically is a group of we are in the board with mainly directors of large museums, and we meet up every week or 2 weeks for half an hour. And we try to get informed of all the horrible things happening in the contemporary art museum world. And we discuss on what's the meaning of them and whether we can do something. That's essentially what we're doing. So it's quite amazing to have the director of the Museum of Buenos Aires and the director of National Gallery of Singapore and the director of the Museum of Antwerp, a group of these people looking together. And a bit what we are doing, you know, we can't change the world. You know, we should be aware. If we would be a full-time, do it in a full-time job, we might do a little bit more than we can do. But we see it a bit, I see it a bit like what zakat in Islam, you know? You say, like, I give a little bit of my energy, a little bit of my time to sometimes try to make a little bit of a difference, or a little bit of reflection. And the way in which we proceed is that we will look into if there's a situation that seems for us to be interesting and reflective potential, we will try to look into it. We will talk with a lot of people, we will try to assemble a lot of precise information, but then in the end, we only give a small statement. So normally we have much more material and understanding than the statement we make. And why? Because it's a dangerous game. You know, very often one of our colleagues is fired. You must know that also. One of your colleagues is fired. Sometimes it's a monstruosity that this colleague is fired. Sometimes the story is a bit more complicated. But still you will want to defend your colleague. Very often things are not what they seem. So we try to be very attentive and to take information and then to look at a way to spiral. And I must say, last year we were, if I give an example, Kenji, you must know the thing with the Aichi Biennale. We worked a lot with that. You know, you have this very, very delicate, incredibly, and being Japanese, you know how incredibly delicate this question of the service women is. And then it gets out of control and it goes to an uninteresting place. We don't then try to be radical and say we protest, but we try to find a way. If there was good people who were trying to work with it, so then we try to, in a certain way, help these good people to get through with it. And effectively, the Biennale has been reopened because it was closed because of censorship. We have, last year, we have had quite a lot of actually places where we made successful changes. That's very strange. Sometimes the very fact that some voice from outer space comes in and speaks in a national situation, it helps. It may help a bit, it may help a bit more, it may even sometimes help a lot. You can't guarantee it. You can't always also do it. But what we are doing, so the statements, we are not only publishing them on our website, we also always go to the national media and to the international media. And for example, last year, I think we have been, there's one of the most amazing museums, radical museums in the world, I think, MAR, the museum of, which Paulo Herkenhoff, the Museo de Arte do Rio, which Paulo Herkenhoff, the legendary director from Rio de Janeiro, organized, opened, was closed down, it's reopened now. And Paulo says, you made a lot of difference. In La Paz, there was people fired because they didn't behave like the old bourgeois white people want, but they also tried to go for the minorities. One of the people was rehired afterwards. So it may be that we make a difference. Now, when over the years, looking at all these cases, and I must say sometimes making a statement, very often not making a statement because we feel it's too problematic. You know? We now know of at least 6 cases, for example, where there's a kind of Black Lives Matter agenda used to fire directors, where actually it's rather a conflict between, most often between directors and middle staff. But it's nearly impossible to work with that because the urgency of Black Lives Matter is so big. So we sometimes don't do things. Now, we always try to discuss the matter, what is happening, to understand what's happening. And we found that a lot of these problems in different ways have to do with the relation between, you can say, us, the directors, and governance. And governance in different parts of the world, it may sometimes mean the board, or it may mean politics. And very often you see, oh shit, it happens again. You know, very different ways. In Germany, there's a director who had a mandate function in a museum that's founded by an oil multinational, and he does an exhibition against oil. And suddenly his mandate is not prolonged. That's fine. A museum can do that, but they should do it in a decent way. They should evaluate it, they should argue it, and they should do it in time. So very often, and in your part of the world, which is very dear to me because it's amongst others one of the centers of the non-aligned countries, which I think is really part of the possible future of the world. We have been dealing recently with two major cases. One was Belgrade, and the most recent one is Ljubljana. I know Ljubljana, Zdenka Badovinač's case is part of a wider setup. We won't again try to cover everything. We will just try to make a point on some specific thing. We will often also, rather than being combative activists, we will try to find a way where we say, in theory, for example, if in Poland, like last year, I think it was, we did quite a good job there, even if it didn't help. If a director, a museum is taken over from a good director, going to bad direction, we will try to argue, even if we know the national government is very reactionary, not only conservative, but all the same, we will try to argue, we will try to say, look, this contemporary art you have in Poland, it's fantastic. It's internationally important. Because even if 90% of those people will say, shit you, I'm the boss, perhaps 10% of the people will say, you know, the good conservative people very often are open to something which is not of their interest. When I worked for George Soros, he thought contemporary art was berserk. You know, he thought it was absurd, but he funded it. And so you can have this kind of relation. And that's also a thing we are doing. Now, because we found that very often it has to do with governance, you know, with this relation. I started thinking, I'm chair of this committee, can we do something? I went to the ICOM ethics committee. I think that's too far out. And then I met Goranka. And INTERCOM, because I thought actually with governance, perhaps we can try to go to the pragmatic side. Now, what we have been doing, because in a certain way, it's a little bit like we work with Museum Watch, we have very small spoons. We can't make a lot of difference. So what can we do that's intelligent with very small spoons? What we figured out is, let us try to ask some researchers to reflect on this question of governance. Let us start with these two parts of Europe that are dear to us, but where there's really big shit happening, which is like former Yugoslavia for me and Central Europe. Let us discuss with the people and let us find some things that we say they are not only relevant for this part of the world, but for everywhere. And for me, that's, and Goranka is going more, I think, with these researchers that want them to make a complete toolbox, a big machine. I'm saying if we have 5, 6 basic lines, for example, saying, if you are being fired, if you are fired, a government can do that, it should do it in a good way. You know? Then from Museum Watch, we would have, and if ICOM would endorse that, we could say, yes, but ICOM is saying, you should not do it this way, but another way. And so what I hope, and it's much more, and I think Goranka is very able in moving, so I'm a bit hopeful there, is that in this trajectory, which may go further, it may lead to a wider toolbox, but that at least we try to have in the ethical code of ICOM some more things about governance, because it is lacking. And it's an essential element of how a museum works between society, which is governance or politics or the board, and the directors, which are there for content and meaning. And so if we would find 2, 3 alineas, paragraphs, and we could convince ICOM to put it in the ethical code, then we can afterwards say, you are not doing this well, according to international standards. That's a bit what I hope we will succeed in doing. So this was my, I hope this is okay for initial starting, because I think it's nice to discuss now.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that we have so many different topics to discuss, and in one way we are fortunate that there are not so many people here, so everybody can give their insight, opinion. But first some technical things. Maybe it would be nice to have a picture with all of the faces. So if you have, if you're so kind now to give us maybe 5 minutes to enter your rooms or wherever you are, to see you and to have some photos taken, print shots taken. And also my colleague Andrea Matthias, that is our administrator, reminded me that if you want to have a certificate of attendance, and this is important for your promotions and everything for your CVs, please give us your full names. If you're still, some of you have everything written and it's not a problem, but for those we have 2 or 3, please give the full names that Andrea will have your names, and we will send you this certificate of attendance. So this is this technical part. And now we're moving to the last part of our meeting today. So please, your faces now first to have some photos. Andrea, yes, of course. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. We don't see you also. So that's why I'm telling you. Yeah, okay, hello. Andrea was also vaccinated just 2 hours ago, so I hope that you're okay, like Bart. You're 2 freshly vaccinated people in this session. So hopefully that it means that we can meet in person very soon. I will be vaccinated tomorrow, so this is still in my future. Okay, so thank you all first for presentation, and now for your insights, for your opinions, for maybe your experience in so many fields, but everything is connected. All the topics, the themes are connected. So please, now the floor is yours. Who wants to be the first one? Okay, Goran.
I can be the icebreaker
if
you like. As Bart said, really, we noticed that sometimes museum directors are really exposed to how to say, not only censorships, but consequences if they are following their professional bias. That is something that we really would like to somehow bring forward on the agenda, discuss it within ICOM, because what Bart said, no one is prophet in his own country. Usually you have these situations that are dealt case by case. You know, people are confronted with the whole system mechanism, either board, political system, or I don't know, corporative, whatever. And then, you know, the balance of power does not exist. And of course, the minister, the mayor has the right to appoint a new museum leader. There is no guarantee that you will be constantly kept in one position. But for us, it is what Bart mentioned, important that ethical and professional standards are those that are kept, and that people are somehow treated with dignity for all the work and good things they have done. And in cases when we have these things not obeyed, an intervention from international stakeholder might be very helpful indeed. I don't know what your experiences were, but of course there are in our lifespan as occupying head positions or directorships, you are often confronted with various demands that are on the verge of being acceptable or are crossing that border too. So these professional standards in governance are crucial for the future of our museums. I think what the others, I would like to know what are the others' opinions. So maybe this could also help us in how to proceed in drafting the toolkit.
Thank you. We don't have ideas. Yeah, Noga, please.
I want to mention one thing regarding Bart's comments about people are tired from Zoom and the presentations. But we need to remember that there's a lot of our members that are in places that have bad internet infrastructures, and they're not able to join all this or to have many Zoom meetings and to join these conferences. Also, we need to remember the time gap. And again, thanks to our friends from the East, and now that it's quite late at your place, Lee and Kenji, and also Kenny. So thank you for joining us. But I think, again, it's our work, the job that we're doing in exchanging ideas, and I believe that all this information will be uploaded to all the committees' websites. This is a way to reach our members and to help and make the connection. And unfortunately, although we're here in Israel and you are in Europe, are vaccinated, we hear Kenji's, what he says, that less than 2% of the people in Japan were vaccinated. So we need to find a way to be in touch, although we all want to meet physical and to go to visit each other. This is probably the way we will have to keep to be in contact via Zoom, but thanks God we have the technology and we can still do our job.
Obviously, I absolutely agree. And it has been, I must say, one of the, because we are in this confederation, this European Confederation of Museums, we have decided when the lockdown started to have weekly and then 2 weekly meetings with the directors. And it has helped us a lot in being able to change rapidly enough, because it's a very, in a certain way, it's a very lonely business. Huh? In some respect, being a director, you know? So, and certainly in these circumstances, when you are completely the whole time taken by the emotions of your staff, the emotions of your politicians, the emotions of your audience, you know, so, and your own emotions of what can we do? So it's very tiring, and at least for me, I absolutely agree with you. It has been of an immense help to have this kind of contemporary immediate lines of discussion. And if we lose that, I think we lose a lot You know, I think as museums, it is what we should all, and for me, whether it's archaeology or a local heritage thing, or it should all be part of this kind of international fabric, because otherwise it gets, I think it's lost in some kind of swamp. It's a very big challenge, I think, today.
As we saw in these results of the survey, we all lost a lot of our budget. And this is not maybe showing now in reducing the staff, but I think this is already showing in our programs, in our other material equipment and everything, travel, and all the other things that we finance through our revenues and different types of fundings. In Slovenia, our government always says, but we gave you all the money that we promised to you, but this is just one part. It's not the only thing, it's not the only action that we need for recovering and reimagining our work, even though we are lucky that we are mostly government financed and we were not afraid for our salaries. But it's not just the salary that makes people working in a museum happy, like it was noticed that we need to be happy in a way. Happiness is not just in the salary. As we are creative people, we also need a lot of opportunities and this type of cooperation. And I think the lack of people wanting to contribute in service in this type of meetings is also because it was important for people to travel, to meet, to not just have this part of meetings, that are very formal and we all have to I want to give you something. It's just not in this formal part, is also this part is very important, that we then go and to start a lot of friendships, and this is very important part of our professional and personal identities. And I'm also the museum director. Today we have the first staff meeting outdoors in our courtyard. And we were smiling because when we were on the Zoom meetings, I'm talking and they're listening. And then I'm asking, do you have any opinions? Do you have any questions? And everybody just are eager to stop this meeting to go to work in their offices. Because the climate was quite different. And today I'm quite happy because we managed, there's no rain today. And we were sitting in our courtyard drinking coffee and smiling and talking. And it was really, really, really different. The energy was really different. So this connects not just directors. We talked about a lot of directors now with governments. This is very important, but it goes through every pores of our sector. Thank you. So this is the seller. So this would be the last point of our meeting if you were in Brežice.
Yeah, that's a good issue Alenka mentioned. I think the survey which ICR made, I think it was made for museum professionals. We were all, speaking about how important it is to keep our visitors and so on. But I think it's also very important that the museum professionals are organized. And as the survey showed, as Noga told us today, I think that we embrace, so to speak, many small and big museums or middle-sized museums. And I think we have some, on a small level, of course, but we have some relevant answers to the survey, what to do perhaps in future.
Yes, thank you. Any other opinions? Slavko, how are you? You always have some opinion. Please give us.
Yes, I
Say hello.
I agree with everyone, but the one is important. Zoom. Yes, Zoom is useful, but it's unhuman, totally. What I say, the situation in Serbia is so. Especially you mentioned at the start, Museum of Serbia celebrate International Day within our unique manifestation this year also. Maybe you cannot believe uh, more than 100 museums in more than 50 cities this year already celebrate International Museum Day, European Night Museum, and National Week, National Museum Week. Yes, it is difficult times, but what can I say? Uh, the program were implemented with the application, of course, with all measures for the prevention and control of disease, COVID-19. But also I can say I'm very proud of our colleagues in Serbia because museums in Serbia have been creative, believe me, and responsible and play important role to the national, to improving the mental health of our nation. But also it is totally different now, and I agree that physical contact with public, also with you as colleague, is more important. And I know it will ever be past, and I'm sure we'll be meet very soon.
Thank you.
Next year in Prague.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Prague, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I bet.
Well, the advantage is that we record this type of meetings and they are actually accessible to all the others that maybe could not be now here and they want to hear us, and also that we use these digital platforms to spread all the surveys, and this is also our tasks in our projects to do our best to engage all the others to very important projects that we have in the next year, and the results will be presented in Prague. I think of many projects that are going on now. So we have a huge expectations for this meeting in Prague. For this topic, value of the museums, that I think will be also the added to this topic will be also recovering, reimagining everything that we talked today. And I think that I'm speaking in the name of all our participants, all our presenters, that please be active and help us with all these activities that we have. Yes, it's true. Goranka.
If I may, Alenka, only say, now we have to use this still pandemic times when people are in front of their computers to do all the mapping surveys, online questionnaires, etc. Because once they let us out, once we are out in the space, I think no one will be able to get people back for some time. To fill in the surveys and questionnaires.
Okay.
The old-fashioned question, what our future like? Now it's really the most important question. What our future like? New business models, new way of approaching the audience. Yes, Prague will be very important meeting for first to meet each other and then talk about what our future like.
Slavko, our colleagues from the Museum, Arts and Crafts Museum in Zagreb, where our conference was held in a hybrid way for these 2 days, they used the opportunity to ask the passerbys, since they are in the center of Zagreb, And they use this slogan of International Museum Day to ask them what they think will be the future of museums. And I must say they have selected some of the answers and presented it at the end of the conference, just letting people directly speak what they think. And there were really different opinions, you know. Some were really prizing museums for going online. Some felt that it is not the real thing. Some people think that museums are gone, redundant, not needed anymore. Really, they do. You know, something they have to restructure and change completely. Some people think, oh, we can hardly wait to go back as it was. Really, really interesting to listen to all those reflections of people.
I think museums are needed more than ever, because we really have very important role.
You know, we can't admit that we are redundant. That's for sure. Okay, we have to believe that we are really important, and we do this
I'm
work.
sure that our governments will now think our rules in society. We all always say our rules, but now this is our time to say again to our governments what is our rules. Very important rules. It is time. This time is like war times.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other courageous people to say something to this audience?
Who have been vaccinated? And that's important for conclusion.
That was not the condition to enter this meeting. So.
But it will be if you invite us to Brežice. If we have to go to Brežice, then we will have to be vaccinated.
No, you can be only tested. It's not a problem.
Okay, now I'm vaccinated.
Okay. If you have any comments, if you want to add something.
Sadly, enough have to leave you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
We will. We are at our bye. Have a great day. We are actually at the end of our meeting. You still have some minutes if you want to share something with us. And it's okay if you don't want to. Yes.
I think it's time to say thank you, and I hope that we really showed some interesting things from all the committees, what we do, and that we are really, how to say, want to be actively engaged in museum community worldwide, especially on INTERCOM's agenda are these how to say, issues, how to improve governance and management in museums, because a lot of other things depend on that. We are aware, and so with responsible approach, I think we can improve things and make our futures easier. That's all for me, and thank you very much for your participation.
Alenka, maybe to try to share, you know, my hobby is video, to share you one short video.
Please.
For motivation.
Andrea, did you enable it? Yes.
Let me try.
Let's try. Okay.
Share. Did you see it?
Yes.
Listen. Oh, what's that? Sorry for this thing. Are you ready for a new challenge? Adventure you. Explore our museum. Go to future. Discover. Digital. Competition. This May, museums are waiting for you. That's for me.
Great.
Great, thank you, Slavko, thank you.
So thank you, Alenka, for hosting us. Thank you, Noga, for the survey comments. I would like to say hello to Safura from Iran, ICR member. I'm glad you joined us, and see you next time. I can say only that I would like to issue a kind of prescription for people to come to the museums. Let's leave it as a joke, perhaps, but maybe it will work.
Be brave and come to our museum.
Okay. Yes.
We are waiting for you, believe me.
We just finished with an exhibition. If you have doubts, come to the museum. So that's another point of view to come to the museum.
That's also a great slogan. So we say kindly invited, not at all urged, and always welcome. This is our motto. And thank you all for being here, for being present, for participating in this webinar, in this celebrating also International Museum Day, and also celebrating the cooperation, connection, co-working, doing all things together to be connected strongly in these times, and with very strong, how do you say, commitment to better and great future. So have a great day, have a great evening, have a great morning, whenever you are. Thank you for joining us, and hope to see you very soon. And again, hope to see you in Brežice. We have great wine, so that's also very important.
We have to
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.